All right, guys, welcome to week 8. We are halfway there. We are halfway through our 16-week semester, and not a whole lot of feedback from last week. I know that we combined weeks because of some wonderful technical difficulties on my side, but not a lot of feedback. So make sure that you are taking care of business because 5 responses out of the amount of students that we have in this class is definitely not fulfilling what we need to fulfill for this course. Um, I want to go ahead and look at our takeaways for chapter 6 and 7. That was actually for week seven's lecture, and I want to go ahead and respond to some questions. Um, One of the questions that we have, what is, oh, there's so many questions. All right. So this very first one, this is from Bellin. Thank you, Bellin. What are some ways of showing a student that you trust and respect them? It's really, it breaks down to being just open and human. I don't even know how else to say that, but it's being truly human with them and understanding that they're just a younger version of your older version. Obviously, different lines of thought, different practices, but show them that you're real and show them that you are um, there for them. And just naturally, that human nature side will come through. Don't be fake. I've said this 100 times. I show students, I invest in what they do. I find out, if they play football, if they play volleyball, if they are in band, whatever it is. I ask them about it, and it's kind of like, um, not exactly the world's greatest example, but if you feed a puppy and it takes a bite and then it comes back to you and it wants more, because that's how you build the trust with them. And if you're invested in the process of feeding their intellect and feeding their emotion and feeding their mentality, they come back to you and they trust you. Um, have you ever been in trouble for going rogue in the curriculum? I have not. These videos may get me in trouble down the road, but no, overall, I really have not, because I make sure that my main focus is, checking the boxes. We have certain things that we need to do as far as the curriculum goes, but I hit those things quickly. Personally, I hit them quickly, and then I move on to really cool stuff. Uber planning is not something that you ever have to worry about, to be honest with you. The whole idea of Uber planning obviously means it's a lot. It's over the top planning. Um, in my opinion, other people may have different thoughts on it, but my opinion from what I've heard, this idea is that really people they go over the top and they plan all this big, just wonderful things, and then you don't get anything accomplished. I personally would never worry about that. I have heard that term. I've never been a part of experiencing that term, but I have heard that term in the past years. If your history class seems bored during class, how do you try to reel them back in? It's tough. That's really tough. I usually will do simple things like we'll stop. You'll say, hey, everybody stand up, stretch really quick, get back into it. Hey, let's take a quick break, get a mental break. Mental breaks are huge, to where you say, hey, tell me something you're excited about this weekend. Now tell me something you did last weekend. And history-wise, I would connect it to, all right, that's your history, right? And then I say, all right, let's put ourselves in these people's position. Right now we're talking about, in my daytime world, we're talking about the 13 colonies of the United States. And so I'll say, Lynn, what did you do last weekend? All right, now how does it compare? What you do in a history class scenario and what you do in really any class is make it relevant to the student, and they won't lose interest. So have um, I have endless energy, and so it seems to purvey to the students. I'm not sure if purvey is the right word, but it sounded really cool right there. But having the ability to show passion through what I'm speaking about, and having the ability to really connect with the kids, it's very rare that I see that boredom. And I don't like the whole idea of I'm going to pound information into your mind. I like the idea of giving you the information. Let's process the information. Let's talk about the information. And then, you know what, guys? Y'all killed it for me today. Y'all chill out for the next 5 to 10 before the bell rings. And so they understand that if they give their all to me, they're rewarded in that type of deal, in that type of scenario. All right, Brooke, what do you got here? After college, it's best to walk into schools and ask them for hiring. All right, so getting a teaching job, this is cool because you're forward thinking on this. So after college, is it best to walk into schools and ask if they're hiring, or how would it be best way to get a teaching job? It is literally going to every school's website. Everything is online now. Every single thing, and you go ahead, and once you are certified, actually before you're certified, you go ahead and fill out the application. You attach certifications later. You put in anticipated certification dates, and then you can reach out. Now, a lot of people do this. When I was still an instructional coach, a lot of people did this, and to be honest with you, I didn't have the heart to tell them I can't do anything about this. But what they would do is they would reach out to the instructional coaches in Cyfera. They're the CCIS. They would reach out to them and say, hey, or to me rather, and say, hey, I'm just looking for a job. Here's my resume, that type of stuff. And I would say, hey, thanks a lot for the info. I'll keep you in mind. But truly, I'm not the hirer. But I do have some influence on some levels. So that's cool to reach out. They say don't ever reach out to the principal. I say do reach out to the principal, but not be aggressive. Also, job fairs are 100%, and do not go in like you are there to control the world, and do not go in there as a timid individual, but go in there with pure confidence and go in there with pure passion. Passion is the thing that speaks the most to anybody. And if I stand in front of you, and this is why I wish this class was face to face. It drives me nuts that I can't sit there and talk to y'all and kind of really see what y'all's thoughts and ideas are. But if I can tell you're passionate about the process without going through all the power words and going, well, yes, I believe that education is for all students, and this is my philosophy on education, and you're pounding out this stuff that you learned in your pedagogy classes, but you can truly look me in the eye and say, and give me a firm handshake and say, I'd love to be at your school, and that you did research on my school, and say, I really love the makeup of the campus. I love the neighborhood. I love whatever it may be. I love y'all's mission statement. I love your direction. If you can show that you truly have passion about a school that you want to work at, then they're going to go ahead and put a 5-star on your resume at a job fair and put you in the good stack. Okay? And I'm going to tell you this is how it works. And if you come in going, hi, I would like to teach science, you're going to go in the no stack immediately. And that's just the way that it is. So you really have to step outside of your box, and you do have to put yourself out there. A lot of times education is moving up in education, as I mentioned before, it's who you know and who knows you. But getting in the door is actually not all that hard. So you're going to scour the websites of the districts that you want to be in, and you're going to put in general teacher applications, and then you're going to watch job boards every single day, and you're going to pop on them as soon as you can. If there's a school that you want, you email the principal. A lot of people, again, will say do not do that. I'm not saying do it, but I'm saying I personally would do it and say I would love to be at this campus. I love what y'all stand for. I absolutely I feel like under your leadership I can be an incredible educator and get all those things that show that you're actually passionate and you're not just a summertime teacher that's counting 187 days down until you're off for a month or two. Then that actually shows what what your worth is. I hope I answered that. I was rambling. One or more questions. How is the process for applying to schools for a teaching job? I hope I just covered that, but this is a question. Thank you, Marielle. Online, everything begins online. Again, whatever district you want to work in, search those job boards, search them daily. Starting in April, that's when hiring season begins, and they're going to start posting out tons of classroom positions that are they're general application positions, but then those get kicked out to principals and then hit the job fairs. They are a rat race. They're a cattle call, but please hit the job fairs because those are going to be your biggest benefit, like I just mentioned. Okay. What is the best way to network and make connections with the right people? All right, so big picture, your first teaching job is not necessarily something that you have to network to get into, but if somebody knows you, they can vouch for you, that's huge. Okay, so starting out, it is, and I got my first job because I knew the principal, because she was my math teacher in junior high in my small town of Sealy, which her parents lived right down the street from where I grew up, and we all kind of knew each other. I don't know necessarily that there is a best way to network at this point outside of get on LinkedIn and build a professional LinkedIn site and then start friending, okay, or following other principals, directors of instruction, and teachers in the district that you want to be in, and then go forward and get a Twitter account, not your crazy Twitter account that you're posting nonsense on the weekends, but a professional Twitter account that you start following every person that you possibly can within a district that you want to be in, and then post often. This is no joke. Post often. I used to do this. But I don't do it anymore because I'm very content in currently where I'm at and what we're building at Lone Star University Park with the AAT program. And so, but I used to do this all the time. One thing I tell you about posting on Twitter, because Twitter and LinkedIn are your big major players, okay? Twitter and LinkedIn are effective if you do it right. Don't go on Twitter and daily post, I love education because education is for all. I love it. I love teaching because teaching changes the world. And that stuff's cool, but it's hokey. If I were to see that, I would instantly think, and again, I told y'all I teach this based on reality. I would instantly think, wow, that's weird. They're trying too hard. Where a good start, let me tell you a good start, and the flow will naturally come. Create those professional accounts. Start with Twitter. Create those professional accounts and start simply retweeting and doing the little heart on people who you follow within the district that you want to be a part of. Then you're going to see the things that they post. Then you start posting those things, hashtagging correctly. Then you start to build that network, because whenever they see your name, they're going to be like, oh, Garrett Hartman. Oh, yeah, he's all over Twitter. That's cool. In fact, a buddy of mine just got an AP job at Dean Middle School, and he's been very prevalent on Twitter for a while. And it was, obviously, he was already known in the district, but it did not hurt that he had a very professional Twitter account. So that's an excellent way at this stage to make those networks, those networking connections, and just general connections. All right, last one from Heidi. What do we got? How do you prepare students for transitions and following routines? Practice, restart, practice, restart, practice, restart. This is something that's really going to come in later on. In more of a pedagogy class and how things actually work with classroom management and different things. I could tell you the way that I do it, but I really do it through fear. I'm kidding. I do it through just a simple process of, if it doesn't work, hey guys, hold up, let's back up. Everybody, let's try this one more time. Hey, let's do this together. We can't do it together. Then I talk them through as a team. I talk my groups through as I want us to be responsible for each other because we all want to be successful type of deal. Okay. So hopefully that answered that question. Now, not a lot of questions from this week. So hopefully we're going to see some better from this coming week. But this week's topic is what? The history of schools. I very simply, I don't know if I really want to go too into this. The only thing that I do want to tell you about this week is that you're looking at chapter 7. Obviously, this is week 8, but we're looking at chapter 7. And chapter 7 talks about the history of education in the U.S. And you have your few assignments with this. You have your quiz with this. I do apologize for that one quiz that wouldn't load for some. Thank you for letting me know. Obviously, I will let it ride for those that contacted me that did have issues. But if you didn't have issues, please get in there and do it. One thing I do want to tell you about the history of education, and I'm going to leave it at this. I'm not going to go too deep into this, but the history of education is very simple. I graduated high school in 1998, so my schooling career lasted from 86 to 98. I think that's 12 years, right? And during that time, school changed dramatically while I was in school. And after that, school changed even more dramatically, even quicker. So when we're looking at looking at schooling, I want you to think about the fact that even what you may have experienced 2 years ago, it's changed. Okay, what you experienced 5 years ago, it's changed. What you would experience next year, it's going to change the following year. So when we're looking at the history of schools, I just want you to take the big picture in of it. I don't really want to analyze the fact that, we started with Horace Mann in the 1800s, public education for all. That's cool. Know what you're doing, right? If I was going to be, I don't know, an accountant, I would kind of want to know, what's the background of an accountant or an engineer? What's the background of an engineer, a police officer? What's the background? You really have to have knowledge of going in, because what you do is you start your own legacy. And if you start your own legacy based on zero knowledge, then your legacy is going to be not that thorough, really, when you break it down. So the big picture of this week is go through it, check it out. Look at the assignment, look at the quiz, knock it out, but understand, all I want you to understand is education is continually changing for the better, for the worse, every single year, every single legislative session. That's why it's important to vote and know exactly who you're voting for in the state legislature, and who supports you as an educator, and who supports you in come budget time as an educator, because ultimately, our livelihood depends on lawmakers, because you are in fact a public employee that works for a district, which is a public entity. And so it is actually a publicly directed district. And so what I want you to understand is that your impact on history is bigger than the classroom. I'm not telling you got to go out and be an advocate and marching with your little sign and stuff in front of the Capitol. But if you dig that, that's cool. I think that's amazing. I protested a protest in college, and that was kind of cool. It's my only experience. But just know that it's forever changing, and you have to adapt. Every single year you have to adapt. And it's funny because I see the adaptation every single year as what is the new popular song for that year. And I see how that transitions into how students act, how students behave, how students carry themselves, how students dress, whatever it may be. And I understand that, this is their culture, right? This is what they're given at home. This is what they're given in their private life. If I try to adapt that in a 50-minute period, 5 days a week, I lose that kid. But if I can understand in my mind the big picture of educating these students, but then sitting back and going, I don't have to get down with what their focus is, but I can understand it. And I can say, hey, you know what, guys, I understand for this thing I'm dealing with now. I understand phones, huge part of your life, right? Huge part of your life. This is my first year back in the classroom in middle school in 4 years. And I used to be a stickler for phones. I'm like, put it away, man, or I'm going to take it up type of thing. but then sitting out and looking at the bigger picture, I realized that, man, it's part of everybody's life, mine as well. And so I sit back, and my adjustment to how schools are changing is understanding common factors. And I sit there and I say, hey guys, you know what? Um, I'm very lenient on this, but during instruction time, I just ask that you have it away. And I understand that that's changed from my personal history in education until now. And students are like, yeah, okay, cool. All right, they put it away. And then they know as soon as we're done, they don't even have to ask. They're like, all right, cool, we're finished with everything. They can get back on their phones. So again, understanding history, understanding that education is vastly different from whenever you experienced it, even if you are a freshman straight out of high school, and it will continue to adapt. And the way that you can be successful, wrapping up point, the way that you can be successful in education for an extended period of time is very simply understanding that adaptation to the changing educational world is paramount. It is the most important thing for you to do. If not, you'll drive yourself crazy. You will go home crying. You will be pissed. You will be burnt out, and you will look for a different position. And that's it. So, with that being said, hopefully I summed up a little bit of this week in my ramblings, and we will talk soon. Email me if you have any questions, guys. And again, oh, how I wish I could sit in front of y'all and just have just discussions. But I know this year is a little bit different, so hopefully you're getting stuff out of this in my crazy experience. I am highly unorthodox in the educational world, but it is something I'm passionate about, and the reason why I'm able to hold that passion is because probably I'm a little bit unorthodox, but I guess that's okay. All right, guys. Have a wonderful week. Complete the very simple things that we got going on this week. And respond to this discussion. Make sure we get attendance credit. And we'll talk soon. Bye, guys.